Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sam Elliott 64, and I am joined alongside.
Anderson 9132, I am back. Sorry about last
He
week,
is
guys.
alive and
Yes,
well.
But basically, my lovely fiance wasn't feeling very well, so I had to really tend to her. So sorry about that, guys. But I'm back, and I'm
Yes,
black, sort
yes,
of, and I'm better than ever.
yes.
Sort
Unfortunately, our other member of our team, Dave, is ill this week. He's lost his voice apparently. So
pansy.
we've
So I'm here instead. Hello. Yes,
got
hi.
Roscoe Whitey with us instead. Hello, Ross.
Hello. These two guys are probably going to make fun of my accent at least 20 times throughout this video, so
He's our
that'll
translator
be
for
fun.
Gary Cairns.
Yeah.
Are joking, of course.
We wouldn't take the mick out of you, Ross.
Yeah.
Oh,
But we,
no,
of course, we are
definitely
joking.
not.
Ross is
Definitely not.
a big Robot Wars fan in general, and we're absolutely delighted to have him with us. And now, before we get on to Heat 4, obviously, this video is going to contain spoilers for Heat 4, but it's also going to contain spoilers for Heat 3. Anderson, give us your thoughts on Heat 3 very quickly. We didn't give them last week, obviously, because you were not here. You've got a minute. Go.
Okay, basically everybody seemed to like it. I didn't. Not that much. I found the matches boring. The robots were good. Don't get me wrong, but no, two great robots don't always make a great match. I think Dominator 2 versus Hypnodus proved that. I found the heat was very dull. The matches were very boring. Didn't really do it for me last week, so I gave it a 5 out of 10. But at the end of the day, the right robot won in the end. So it's all jolly good from there. And at least Dara had improved a lot. He was very funny, especially when saying that they built a boat. That made me laugh like a little schoolgirl.
Yeah, the boat
So
was.
there we go.
You actually did it in just over 30 seconds. Well done there, Anderson. I'm
Solid
impressed.
work, solid work.
This is
Mate.
absolutely groundbreaking stuff. We're moving through at pace. Anyway, this is Robot Wars Reviewed, and we must review Robot Wars for this week. Now,
Will
first,
we have a video under an hour long? I
we might
doubt it.
well do. I think we might do for this week because I think we're getting used to how things work. We've got a lot. We've got a lot more used to these things. Anyway, moving on. Heat 4. For me, by a long way, Heat of the series.
I agree. Yeah, it's been the one I've enjoyed watching the most out of all of them so far. Closely behind Heat 2, and then obviously Heat 3 is last by a mile, because I completely agree with everything Anderson said. But yeah, Heat 4 is definitely my favourite one so far, the series.
Yes, Ross agrees with me. That means
Yes.
okay. I won't take the mick out of you throughout the whole episode.
Oh, there was me thinking I had a friend.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry.
but anyway, we must move swiftly on.
I just like to say I agree. I agree. Definitely.
Look, I can see why. I think we discussed last week. Briefly why Heat 3 might not have been perceived as quite a weak one because it was an obvious winner from the start. TR2 really just controlled the Heat, but then again, I thought it was quite good because of that. It showed consistency throughout, and one robot just clearly being head and shoulders above the rest was quite cool in my opinion. But it's an opinion. It's just one of those things.
yeah.
So I think we should just carry on with Heat 4, shall we? Heat 4, starting off with the two first round matches, which saw, first of all, Sweeney Todd, Sabretooth, PP3D, and no, it wasn't Sabretooth, it was Can Opener. PP3D, Sweeney Todd, Can Opener, and Apollo. And for me, this was a great fight. This was just action packed the whole way through. And for some reason, Anderson, you didn't like it that much, did you? Why?
Well, to be honest, right, I will. I watched it again because it was a good heat. So I thought, so I'm going to watch this again anyway. I will admit, I did like it better the second time because problem is I'm still kind of adjusting to the editing, so I'm still getting a bit flabbergasted by what's happening. It's sort of all there at once, sort of thing. But when I got a chance to have a look at it again, I did think it was a little bit better the second time. I still don't think it's the knockout match that you thought it was, but it was definitely more entertaining. I personally think, though, and this is not me slamming JP here before I get slammed with hate, but he took too many pauses throughout the battle. And I'm just going to say this now. If you're watching this, just pause it right now. Go watch your favourite Robot Wars match of all time. Go watch your favourite battle of all time. Watch it with the commentary on, and you'll be like, "Yeah, oh my god!" Then watch it without it on, and you will think it's a lot less.
You do make a good point. I mean, he is pausing a lot more, but I think that's more to the point of not necessarily him. I think that's more a case of what they're trying to do instead is with the old series. When they cut into the control pods, he commentated over that. You couldn't hear the roboteers speaking, whereas now you can. You've got the microphones on them all, and I think they're trying to get their direct, live feedback, if you like. And at the same time, I don't think if he was commentating over that, it wouldn't work as well.
Yeah,
So
I see where you're coming
I think
from.
that's why they're pausing it. He's pausing a lot more.
That's fair enough, but I mean, I've always said this, that don't get me wrong, a match is great on its own merit without commentary. I'm not saying it isn't, but at the same time, you need the good voice to follow it up.
No, I do agree. Yeah.
And I will admit, JP, he's still a great commentator. It's just that the pauses made it feel less frantic as it was. I mean, you watch it and it was frantic, but it didn't feel like it had as much impact because he kept stopping talking. I mean, like again, if you watch like one of the more frantic, fast-paced, action-packed, back and forth close battles from the original series,
Or even this series, look at say Behemoth versus Carbide. That's just non-stop.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't even think he took a breath in them. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's just a little nitpick. The match was good. The floor flipper, of course, my bae. So obviously,
Apollo went into flipping miles, mate. He was gone.
Apollo went to space.
Hey, it makes sense, right? Speaking of Apollo, let's start with Apollo as a robot.
What did Ross think?
Go on.
I felt like we really nearly had, like, obviously PP3D and Apollo are the two, like, robots you'd expect to go through from that battle, like maybe can opener, but it was very close to them, like, both going out in the first round. Obviously, Apollo had its wheel sheared off by PP3D, and then can opener had a hold of PP3D for quite a while, so, and then Sweeney Todd was sort of just in the corner existing.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like robots went through, but we nearly had a shot of.
Yeah, I think that was the good thing. We didn't necessarily.
Nice close fight.
Yeah, it was. All four robots had a chance of going through. Sweeney Todd obviously more because they were staying out of trouble rather than getting into trouble.
Foxic that.
Yeah, they did. They tried to foxic it, but they couldn't quite. Yeah, sorry, Craig. We'll start off with Apollo. Then, in that case, Apollo for me, coming into this fight. This is actually a bit of a behind-the-scenes thing here. We actually met the parents of one of I think they own Robots Live. The parents of one of the guys we met, and they were very it was quite odd because I wasn't expecting to meet them before we went in. I think we met them in the hotel where we were staying, and and knowing that it was Chronic underneath because they said it was Chronic underneath, or basically Chronic. I was like, oh hello, Chronic's in this series. That's actually pretty cool, and. Obviously I went in expecting quite a lot from Apollo, knowing its history and where it had come from genetically, if you like. And in this fight, it was so lucky not to go out, as Ross has already mentioned, the fact that it had its wheel taken off by PP3D. I just think, had it gone out, that would have been a major shock.
It would have been so disappointing for it to go out, though. Like, ever since I saw the draw, I was really looking forward to seeing Apollo versus Eruption, and we can get onto that fight later. But I'd say they both look like the two most powerful flippers in the series, like maybe apart from TR2. So if it had went out in the first round, I feel like I would have been really disappointed not being able to see that fight. But I didn't, so we were all right. We did get to see that fight, thankfully.
Okay, I'm going to admit right now, when I saw pictures of Apollo originally, and this is no disrespect to the team, obviously, but I honestly just thought, oh great, another wedge-shaped flipper. Woo.
Oh my god,
seeing it in the arena,
flipper. Whoa. If you know that,
and there's one. Let's have a count, shall we? How many times?
If you know that reference, you are an OG. Carrying on.
But yeah, honestly, sorry. I honestly, but of course, then I saw it in action, and I think one thing that I really respected about it was that it took damage in quite a few of its fights, and it just wouldn't die.
It kept, didn't it?
Yeah, it just wouldn't give up. And you know me, I'm a big believer in reliability as everything. Also, they're from Birmingham pride.
Yes!
I'm not from Birmingham. I'm from near there. I'm
near Birmingham.
Warwick, lads. Warwick. We've got a castle.
I'm not near Birmingham. I'm not
yeah,
you're from Tel Aviv, aren't you? I can't remember where you're from.
Tel Aviv. Anyway, enough of the geography of people who speak about Robot Wars on the internet. Apollo, for me, came into this fight. Obviously, as we said, it took a lot of damage in this fight. For me, very lucky to get through, considering it had the wheel knocked off and they had to drive on that whole match with one wheel. Amazing job to keep it going. And
they looked like they moved, for driving on one wheel, they were moving pretty freely. I don't know how they really managed it.
That's the thing, because
quite decent driving. Like you saw it go round in a circle for a bit, and then it just sort of.
It was still
Obviously,
going around. It was like they managed to. I think they kept turning right, and I think that helped it quite a lot, and it made sure that they were going forward, if you like. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the force of them moving forward then jolting, I think, made it like move forward slightly each time. I think they also flipped a few times, which helped them move forwards a bit.
They killed Can Opener, didn't they, as well?
Yes.
Yeah, they flipped it and took the link out.
Another removable link failure. Reddit went mad. Probably. Anyway.
I think we should that quite neatly segues onto Can Opener, and they have the worst luck in Robot Wars. They've now entered 4 series, and Can Opener has still yet to make it out of round 1.
Is it luck though? Is it luck?
I think it's unlucky.
Considering they won 2 Annihilators, come on, lads. Come on, you can do it. You can do it, surely.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
In fairness, to them, this series they had a horrible draw.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And in Series 5 they had a horrible draw. They had Atomic, I think they did, and then in Series 6 they had Fluffy as well. But Series
7 there was no excuse. I'm sorry.
True. Anyway, back to 2016. Back to today. Can Opener, I don't know. It just didn't impress. It impressed me for a little bit. It grabbed hold of PP3D, did a sort of like, I don't know, like when it got flipped by the floor flipper, did it sort of like a suplex thing with PP3D in its claws. Yeah. That was great. I don't know. Can Opener just didn't really do it for me.
I don't know. It looks a lot like Tough as Nails now to me, which is make of that what you will. But I don't know. I just I thought it was going to be better. Yeah, I thought it was going to be better than it was. Although, as you said, it did have quite an unfortunate draw.
Yeah, very unfortunate draw. But I've said it since it was made. I don't like the new design of it. It just doesn't have enough body to support the
I don't like it either, man. I agree, totally agree. It's
and I know this is a recurring theme for 2016, but exposed wheels, man. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Everyone and their grandma has exposed wheels this series, okay?
Sorry, go ahead.
And Can Opener never used to have. I mean, I think I understand the premise behind the new design. Make it nice and wide so that the claws can actually grab things easier.
Yeah.
However, the old design was better because it was more protected.
Exactly. Also, you would think that a team with someone who looks like Indiana Jones in it would do a bit better. Sorry, he does. He looks like Harrison Ford.
Is it Tom Kane? Is it something like that?
I think it's Tom Kane. Yeah, I think
I'll just confirm that. Bear with me just a second.
If you're watching this,
Andy Kane.
Andy. Sorry, if you're watching this, Andy, do us a favour and comment down below on what you think of me saying you look like Indiana Jones. Sorry.
God, I mean, look, in fairness to them, I'm glad they came back, and it's nice to see another Robot Wars. I guess you can call them a legend. They've won 2 Annihilators, and they're the only team to ever do so.
Yeah, I think that in itself warrants them to be considered a legend. And they fought in 3 series. And to be honest, it's a shame that they haven't made it out of round 1 before because
it's a great robot.
Yeah, they do. They do deserve it as well. Their match against Thermidor proved what it could do. They just seem to always have the worst luck.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on from Can Opener, we should move to PP3D. Now, at the start of the series, when we did our preview, which is really, really long, myself and Anderson said PP3D looked a little bit uninspiring and a little bit bland, if you will. I take it all back. It look like as they said on the show, it looks unassuming. In the arena, it did cause problems to other robots, but mostly to itself as well.
Yeah,
it's a bit of a shame. They did cause damage to other people, obviously ripping Apollo's wheel off, and Sweeney Todd got sent to Narnia across the arena floor when it got hit. But PP3D, with a little jiggy dance.
Really surprised me. I didn't think it would be as destructive or as effective as it was, even though it did cause quite a bit of damage to itself. But I don't know. I didn't expect it to be as good. Because it's such a weird place for a weapon. I don't think anyone's. I
will give the team credit. That is genius because
that is very, very genius.
Because you look at say Hypnodisc for example. Years ago, the disc was quite high, and take its fight against Tornado as an example. Hypnodisc disc never really caught Tornado. It just went over the top of it a little bit, and it's happened in multiple fights in different robots before. To have that disc on the floor like that is so must be so hard to get right because it would like pull the whole robot down. It would just be horrible to design. And the fact that they got it working, as I said, in quite a short space of time.
Working well as well.
I have to give a massive amount of credit to Gary Cairns for that one. The fact that they managed to get it going in such a way and quite effective early on. As I said, it started to do more damage to itself the later the series and the heat went on. But I thought it was a good starting point for a robot, and there's definitely scope for improvement with PP3D.
Oh, definitely. I mean, me and you, we actually had a bit of a disagreement. A bit of a friendly debate.
Yeah,
which I won, obviously, because I always win. Basically,
I just gave up halfway through.
Yeah, basically, yeah. No, basically, yeah. I mean, I said I was. This is not me being horrible. I just wasn't overly impressed by PP3D because I was one of the few who thought, yes, it's got a bit of a basic design behind it, but I actually thought that this could be effective. And it did some damage. It took out Apollo's wheel. It did a little bit of damage to Eruption, but it could have done so much more. And again, like I said, it just did too much damage to itself. And of course, that's the problem. I mean, for example, people out there, they like Nightmare from BattleBots or 259 from Series 6 of Robot Wars. And I personally don't like those robots because they did more damage to themselves than they did other robots, which kind of makes you think that the whole design's stupid. I mean, how 259 won Best Design Award, I will never know because its design meant that it was heavily flawed. And unfortunately, it was exactly the same case with PP3D. It would hit a robot and die, and that's not good.
True, but I think, as we said, the fact that it was put together in such a short space of time, and I think, I think it's a great base. If they can improve the reliability of PP3D's, not only the weaponry but like the drive system as well, which died a few times on them.
Yeah, wrap up his internals in bubble wrap. There you go.
It might work. You never know. But for me, I think PP3D is a solid starting point, and I'd definitely like to see more of that in the future. And we must move on to.
Can I just say quickly about
go
PP3D
ahead,
though? Wasn't like 3D printed, wasn't it?
Yes, some parts of PP3D was 3D printed. Yeah, that's the whole point of the robot's name.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I've never realized that before. Anyway, yeah, that's just I don't know. I just wanted to mention that. It's kind of unique to them, I guess.
It's an original design. So in that sense, it's quite original, and I like originality. I do agree. I mean, the thing is, I agree that with more time, it would be an improved machine, and it would be deadly and really good. It's just I was expecting it to be really good
from the get go.
I think that's pretty much where it went wrong. Yeah, because obviously this is the guy who built former reigning champions. I just.
Well, I was going to say, technically, this is the reigning. Well, one of two reigning champions in the field, if you really want to be nitpicky. But in that, one of two current. I don't know. Anyway, PP3D. Pretty impressive in the first round, did quite well. Unfortunately, bearing the brunt of a lot of punishment was Sweeney Todd. I mean, we didn't really expect much more in terms of the competitive side of things. However, from an engineering standpoint, and from like a design standpoint, I love Sweeney Todd.
Oh yeah, what I have to admire them for actually is that let's be honest here right now. It is a 45-kilo robot.
Yeah,
it went in the arena with Apollo. Not only did it not get flipped out of the arena, which it should have done, but also it held up very well against the punishment given to it. I mean, PP3D was hitting it hard with its disc, and it was just bouncing off.
Only towards the end of the fight did it really start to get. I mean, you saw at the end of the fight, the last hit of PP3D sent it flying across the arena towards the pit. Other than that, it was okay. But I think at that point, PP3D wasn't up to speed, and it wasn't giving it the beans, if you like. So, but I think Sweeney Todd for me.
Very professional.
I know. I'm excellent at this. Sweeney Todd for me, like. There's scope for improvement. There's a lot of scope for improvement. As Dave said last week, they came into the series with a robot that was too light. They didn't realise it was too light. They didn't know the armaments and things like that. And I think for the future, this team have got a great potential design. If they put a couple of nice spinning discs on instead of the angle grinders, again, probably a bit of naivety, if you like.
It's like they stopped watching after Series 2 and thought that. I just didn't realise that and that's not me having a go at them, honestly. I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to have naivety.
Yeah, they were a brand new team, and they built the robot in 4 weeks.
Yeah, and to give them credit, because for a brand new team, the engineering standpoint that machine was fantastic.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though we didn't really see it in battle, but still, that's a void point. But I mean, it would have been nice to have seen it in action more, but unfortunately, it just wasn't to be.
Exactly. I think the robot itself, again, while it wasn't very competitive, I don't think it was ever going to be half the weight of all the other competitors.
No,
But
I don't think anyone's expecting anything from it, but it did decently for like. It was obvious it wasn't really going to do much in the heat. Like that's no offense to them, but considering the robots in the heat, but I still think it gave a good account of itself.
absolutely. And I think I genuinely hope we see them again. I really do. I think that design could be a really good idea going forward, with a bit more nous, which they now have. They've got they've done a series and they've got the ability from now to just improve the robot and see what they can do. Really.
And like Dave said as well, I'm sure they've made plenty of friends who are willing to give them the right,
Absolutely.
a nod in the right direction.
Very similar to Overdoser from last week. Obviously this is probably a far cry more advanced than Overdoser, if you like. I mean, in terms of like a robot standpoint, but like the point still stands. It was still it's still a good first attempt, and it will encourage people and think, I can do that. I can build a box with a couple of angle grinders on it.
Guys, we need to have Overdoser versus Sweeney Todd. It just has
if
to
you're out there, Overdoser, you commented last week. I did see you. I messaged you back. If you're watching this, I want a grudge match between Sweeney Todd and Overdoser. That would be amazing.
Please, we are begging you here.
That will be the most amazing fight of Overdoser 2 and say
what about Overdoser and Chimera instead?
How about a three-way? Come on, guys. If you're out there, Overdoser 2, Chimera 2, and
Scary
Sweeney
go
Todd
round and Cobra into it as well.
Yes.
I want to see this fight. Okay, make it happen.
Brutus Maximus.
Anyway, that was the first battle. Going out, our can
champions.
opener once again, and Sweeney Todd. Through go Apollo and PP3D. And next match sees Eruption, Sabretooth, Storm 2, and Terrible Turtle. And we'll start with Terror Turtle to give its real name. And,
oh god!
And we'll start with Terror Turtle. It's a beautiful robot to look at. God bless it. It really is. John Frizzell has. It's a lovely robot. It really is. But from a competitive standpoint, oh dear. Oh no!
I respect John Frizzell a lot because he does a lot for animal rights,
yes.
and I'm a huge animal lover.
Yes. I believe was he head of Greenpeace?
He's a genuinely nice bloke. Yes, he was head of Greenpeace for 6 years. He's a genuinely nice bloke.
Yeah, he's lovely.
He looks like one of the most lovely people you could ever meet, and he's got what I really love about him as well is he's just got that like really sweet. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Like high expectations for his robot every time. Like he said, like for example, he said with a nice little smile that the disc will hit others before they hit his robot.
And fiberglass is tough.
Yeah, yeah. I just think that's really sweet.
I tell you what, like I know we knocked it at the start in the preview, but I love Terror Turtle so much. It's just.
Oh yeah.
You just know it's going to get trashed. And it went out in exactly the same way as it did in Series 7. That was great.
Chucked out of the arena. Nice to see Eruption up to its old tricks.
Yeah.
But in all honesty, though, bad luck to you, John.
I really don't like the new clusterbot hatch link thing on it though. Like, what's the point in that?
I think it was originally intended to drive underneath other robots and then like guide them into the disc.
That's so small. It would just drive. It's like 20 kilos. It would just drive.
That's the point. That's the point. It's not designed to like push them. It's designed to like prop them up, sort of thing.
Nah.
Sort of like how the nuts.
I generally feel to be better like taking the 20 kilos from that and putting like I don't know better armor or a weapon that works on it. I don't know. That's just my opinion, I guess.
Actually, Boss, you actually have got a very good point there. Bloody hell, it's not just ranting and raving like
I'm just saying, like...
it makes sense. Yeah.
I mean, I could kind of see the point. I mean, they were pushed for time, and like redesigning all of Terror Turtle probably would have taken a lot longer than what they had. So I can understand from like a time perspective, but I mean, going forward, maybe seeing a bit more. Bit of padding
towards. Unless they want to like make the hatch link thing maybe a bit more effective, like maybe put like I don't know, like a saw or something on it, or something effective instead of just like a wedge. Just
any sort of weapon other than just.
It's 20 kilos. Let's be honest. It's not going to be able to push any other robots apart from maybe Sweeney Todd, and it's just going to get wedged under robots, get crushed,
and die.
And die. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, even if they put like a spike on it or something, they could puncture
Yeah,
tires or
just
something.
something to do. Yeah, exactly. Because if we've got put a spike on it, it can run under our robots, puncture its tires or something.
Possibly.
What I would like to see is because I don't know about you if you know this, but John Frizzell actually made and competed in Canada.
With Bulldog.
No,
Oh, okay.
competed in Canada with an Autobot, which is basically autonomous robots.
All right.
Now, I don't know. I know about this. I don't know if this modern series allows them, but the original series, autonomous robots were actually allowed. Just no one ever bothered to build one. John Frizzell make a heavyweight autonomous robot.
Because I know
That would be sick, to be fair.
Chomp in BattleBots is partly autonomous, isn't it? I believe.
I think so. Yeah. It's like it's got a sensor on it, which basically means the robot automatically turns, so the weapon is facing its opponent.
Yeah.
I would honestly think that would make controlling the robot a lot harder because it would be turning against where you want to move it. But
it depends on the situation. I mean, I think it has got a manual override as well, but I think I do see where you're coming from. But anyway, in terms of
I'm not a fan of Chomp, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, in terms of Terra Turtle, though, I mean, where would you go from here for Terra Turtle? I mean, in terms of
remove the hatch link. Do something else with it. Put new weapons or new armor on it or something, or
make a new
do
robot.
something. Improve the robot. That's a good point. Just improve the robot.
I think all things considered, I think we all knew it was never going to be competitive in terms of going for the series title. But again, I was really happy to see Terra Turtle return. Really,
it was nice to see them back. Yeah,
and
it was nice to see them back. Although I didn't have much expectation.
Honestly, how big are the kids now? By the way.
Oh God, yeah, Jesus Christ!
That made me feel so old.
Yeah, that was scary.
God,
you think we were around that age? I mean, I just realised I'm the oldest person on this podcast right now. Oh God,
Dave can't save you anymore. In terms of please come back, Terra Turtle. Maybe with something new, maybe something a little bit different. But it was great to see John Frizzell back, and long may it continue that he be involved with Robot Wars. He seems like a genuinely lovely bloke. I think we should move on to. Let's go with Eruption. We did mention Eruption briefly, in terms of this fight, and I think that and the upgrades that they put on, like the kind of the shock absorbing armor and like the grabber, which didn't really do much. I think it all looked so cool. Eruption looks
smart. It looks really smart. The grabber and the other stuff they added on.
It just looks gorgeous. Honestly, like the bland Eruption that we see on the live, not bland, but like it's quite plain and quite reserved. Whereas this one it looks like it's just going to do some work,
Yeah, definitely.
It looks the business, this series, and I think it was so impressive in its first match as well.
Oh, it was bossing. I mean, obviously, we kind of expected Eruption to go out there and do some good work because it's won the UK live tour I think twice now, hasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, won 2013 and 2014 UK Heavyweight Championships back to back. Only robot apart from Chaos to do so. So that's pretty damn hench.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And you have to think, the fact that Eruption it wasn't really breaking a sweat in the first round, was it?
Yeah. What's really annoying about it is he's like 17. It's like, mate, and here I am, 22 years old, fat. doing a podcast about it.
Yeah. Michael Oates is a stunning driver of a robot.
Sorry, everybody watching. My midlife crisis just happened. I think. Sorry.
Yeah, Michael Oates is a stunning driver of a robot. It's just. Is it Michael Oates? I'm just going to double check.
Yeah, it's Michael Oates. Yeah, and in all honesty, right, he's built a bloody good robot there. I mean,
him and Adrian have done a stellar job with Eruption.
Exactly, it's a very, very good robot, and you know what? I got exactly what I expected out of it: pure power, and that I respect because it meant that this heat just got that little bit better.
Yeah, exactly, and it got the first competitor out of the arena.
Yes, it's the first competitor robot to get another one out of the arena in the new series.
Absolutely,
because Danton Kier failed.
Yeah, of all things to fail.
Yes.
Any further thoughts on Eruption for the first round? I mean, it did basically everything, didn't it? I mean, it killed Sabretooth and then it flipped.
It made its fight. It bossed the fight. Like, there's not much more to say.
It was really good. It was very, very good in this opening round.
Fight, yeah.
So next up, we'll move on to Storm 2.
With its little front hinge flicky
Well,
thing.
they've got three weapons, haven't they? They've got the front hinge bar. They've got the old
Which is
weapon that they had.
useless. Sorry, it was useless.
We didn't see it much, did we? I mean, it was good for
No.
self-writing, I guess, but we didn't see
Yeah,
it
yeah,
much.
that's true.
We had the old Series 7 weapon, which we did see. Well, it was in the fight against PP3D later on, which we'll get to later on. We've got a lot to discuss about that fight. But and they had the big spinning wheel, which they didn't actually use because of the fights didn't really suit it, which I can understand.
That kind of weapon would suit Thor.
Yeah, like a robot that can't flip it and can't really like hurt it. You know.
Yeah, Thor or Carbide. That'd be a good match.
Oh, it would
Storm
be.
2 with the blade against Carbide. Anyway, sorry.
Carrying on. Storm 2. Okay, a lot of people I've seen online since this heat have been.
Cough me.
A lot of people have complained.
I realise.
A lot of people have complained regarding Storm 2 being quite boring. I mean, I can understand it wasn't the most interesting of robots to watch around the arena. You know, everyone's used to their high speed that they had in Series 7 and the amount of pushing power that they had, and the fact that they pushed Steel Avenger clean out the arena. But the team, multiple times they did say, this isn't because of, by choice. This is because we needed to have the motors in from the live tours, which was more reliable rather than the ones that could be replaced regularly in a series filming. For example, this here, they didn't have time to adjust Storm 2 accordingly for this series, and therefore the old system stayed.
Yeah. Also, obviously, in a smaller arena, they needed. No. I meant the bloody the live circuit arena.
Yeah, of course.
I'm pretty certain that there's some sort of rule saying you have to have certain motors in it, because if you're too fast for it, then you're in trouble. And that's the reason why they had those motors to begin with. And of course, like you said, a lack of time to really upgrade it or change it from back to the old version. Because obviously, in this new arena, they would have the space to use them. But
exactly,
and I think didn't have enough time to swing them over, which is a shame.
Yeah,
but they got a year to do it now, so it's all good.
Exactly. Had they had the opportunity to change back to the old system, I'm genuinely convinced that Storm 2 would have walked this heat.
I definitely agree.
I mean,
because the main form of attack was slamming their opponents into
power,
the wall,
and
they just didn't have enough speed. They still had the power, but they didn't have the drive. They still didn't. They didn't have enough speed to do any massive internal damage.
They lacked the drive that they had in previous series, and I think that was ultimately their biggest Achilles heel.
When you think they were low at the front, both big flippers in this heat, they would have tranched it. They would have honestly tranched it. I honestly think that. But
again, it wasn't really their fault. They just did what they could with the time that they had. And honestly, from an aesthetic point of view, I know we mentioned that. I think it was. What did I say? Sweeney Todd was like a stunning robot. Storm 2, aesthetically, it's just so simple, but it just looks so sleek, and I just love the look of Storm 2, especially with that red down the side now as well.
The new paint job really does wonders.
So Merrill Bentz, have yourself a glass of wine, my dear. That is a stunning looking robot. You did a great job on the artwork. I believe it was her that did the artwork for Storm 2. So
also, congratulations on. Obviously, I'm guessing you've been married quite a while now, but in Series 7, you guys weren't married. Congratulations on your marriage. It was very nice.
Excellent.
To see. It's very nice to see that you're still together after all these years. So I mean, I know many relationships that have started and ended in the time between Robot Wars started and now. So ended and now. So I'd just like to say congratulations if you're watching, which you're probably not because you have a life.
Anyway, Storm 2. Sorry. Any further thoughts on Storm 2, Ross?
Well, can we just comment on the thing that the judge was talking about?
The live telemetry, that is fascinating.
The live prompted the feedback from the robot. That's so fascinating.
But the fact that it's quite a far cry from say just take Series 1 for example. Do you honestly think back in 1998 or 97, whenever it was filmed, do you reckon they could have foresaw a future where robots would be giving back live data back to their controller mid-fight? Do you honestly think back then, do you reckon they could have foresaw...
Talking about times when they thought wedges were a good robot, Sam.
Well, they were. Wedges are still good robots, but,
Back then, if you could manage to put a toaster on a set of wheels and make it move forward, you were considered being advanced in the sport. And what's even scarier, though, just think about looking at back then. Even by the third series, the designs have just improved so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, again, by the fourth series, it improved that a little bit more. And then, of course, by the fifth series, robots had improved so much that the producers didn't feel the need to have 4 house robots in the arena anymore, because they knew that the robots could carry the fight themselves.
Yeah.
And, of course, Series 7 came along, again, just a couple years after that, and we were seeing robots get decimated. We were seeing flippers that could actually throw robots a good fight, a good 2 or 3 foot
Seeing
in
the
the
arena get
air.
smashed to bits.
Seeing the arena get smashed to bits, and of course, again, you excel to a good 3 or 4 years later after that. So we're looking at about 2007 time, roughly, and you have robots that can flip robots, 6 feet in the air, and
Yeah.
you have robots that have axes that come down 3 times quicker than terahertzes used to come down, and have and you have crushers that are like 18 times more powerful than razors was, and you do, and you think. It's just scary how in such a small amount of time these bits of technology vastly improved.
Yeah, we mentioned, myself and Anderson spoke to David at length off microphone, if you like, about how the advancements of all this has come in 20 years. Imagine where things could be in another 20 years' time. It's scary to think that it's relatively it's such a short amount of time, and the sport is constantly evolving, and robots like Storm 2 are pushing the envelope in a technological standpoint. It's really quite interesting to see, live telemetry being used mid-fight. That's crazy to think. That's Formula One team kind of stuff. It's
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to see.
I honestly think the next thing that will happen is spinners will evolve, because obviously a lot of people have been commenting saying that BattleBots and spinners are more destructive, and they are right. Tombstone would probably wreck Carbide, no problem. But the reason why is obviously because over here heavyweight spinners have been banned for a very long time,
Yes.
and we haven't, unlike the Americans who've had since Robot Wars ended, that's 12 years. So to hold 12 years to develop, we're still around, that sort of era.
Well,
Of spinners, so
we're
we are
still
getting. I mean,
there's still a large improvement from Series 7 to now.
exactly, but there's
However,
still
yeah,
more room to improve.
it's a lot more raw. I suppose we should move on to Sabretooth, shouldn't we? And I do feel we've commented on aesthetic beauty in terms of Storm 2 simplicity. The same can be said of Sabretooth. Sabretooth is stunning. And
I
I'm,
feel
It's a brilliant looking robot, I think.
it's
It
good
looks
looking.
badass. It looks like
yeah.
the JCB or something. It looks
yeah,
badass.
it looks scary, and I feel so bad for them that their Streamec broke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I feel like it could have done something this heat if She-Mech was working and it got his drum into play. I don't think it would have won the heat, but it could have maybe got through the head-to-head, or
I was going to
at
say,
least decent in melee.
with respect to Storm 2 here, Storm 2 were probably, the least impressive in round 1 of all the fights. I think if Sabretooth was working, there's a good chance Storm 2 would have gone in this fight. I really think so.
I will say this, right. I feel bad for the guy, because again, just like Team Can Opener, really, every series they fought in, they've
They've
lost
gone out
in
in
the
round
first
1.
round.
Yeah.
But unlike Can Opener, I feel slightly worse for them, because every year they've come back with something new.
Yeah, in series 5, they were quite lucky as they just broke down straight away, didn't they?
Okay, well, no, they were against that
They were
tank
against
thing.
Evolution.
The
That's
tank
it.
thing.
So
Okay.
in terms of Series 6, they entered with a robot which the weapon destroyed its own drive system, and they had no real way of getting through that heat, because the fact that they destroyed their own drive system in the qualifiers of all things, they had no way of getting past that. And then in Series 7, obviously they didn't qualify,
Well, they did qualify.
but they
Wasn't
yeah
that like a
But
9,000 RPM disc in Series 7 or something, though?
yeah
yeah, it was
And then they were
9,000.
like, oh, it's too powerful. It's too powerful. You
Too
can't
powerful.
do it this season. That's
Yeah.
dumb.
Well, no, they said you could enter, just try and lower the power, and they weren't able to meet the demands in time, so they had to withdraw.
That's a shame.
It's pretty cank, isn't it, really? But yeah, that's unfortunately the way it goes. But like I said, I mean, a very impressive looking robot. The only real issue I have with it is I just don't think the weapon plays are very good. For example, that claw arm.
I think that was meant to be the Street Mech, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the wedge is too steep for obviously that claw to get a good go on it.
Mm-hmm.
And also the other problem is the drum was a bit too hidden. Like, I mean, for example, take someone like it's like Minotaur spinner on BattleBots. That's got huge teeth on it, so it protrudes out quite far. so it can hit robots well.
Yeah.
I just felt that their job was a little bit too hidden. They were having to get really too close up to the robots, and of course, it was them trying to use their job on Eruption of all robots. Hey guys, this is that robot with the flip on. We've got no Shremek. But anyway.
Do you know what I mean? Why do they go straight for Eruption? Of all
Yeah,
the
that's what
things,
I'm saying,
of all
yeah.
the things to go for, when they know they haven't got a Shremek, why would you go straight for the flipper? I don't
No,
know.
it's not the lack of Shremek, it's the driver error. Sort it, lads. I'm joking.
God's sake, Gabe.
But no, in all honesty, I just felt that the job was a little too hidden. You have to get a bit too close to the robot to get the damage done, if that makes any sense. I mean, I know the whole point is getting close, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think that sums up that first round battle. So out go Sabretooth and Terra Turtle. Through goes Storm 2 and Eruption, leaving it head-to-heads as Apollo, PP3D, Eruption, and Storm 2. First off was Apollo and PP3D. This fight had my favourite moment of the whole heat. Had two of my favourite moments of the whole heat, actually.
Oh yeah,
It had the wheel
the whole series,
and the whole series. The wheel coming off, the tire coming off PP3D, and just rolling in front of the pit. That was amazing.
yeah.
Just watching it just travel across the pit button camera is just like well, this is over. And then, please, I'm gonna have to ask you for a demonstration here, Ross, of Gary Kane's ultimate evil Scotsman mode.
Yeah, okay. What do you need me to say?
I need you to say, with a maniacal laugh just before it, "She's up to speed now, boys." Go on, off you go, please.
Oh, she's up to speed now, boys. That was not good enough for you.
That was excellent. That was excellent.
That was really good.
That was so funny. Like, it was just the way he was, like, Gary was just so maniacally laughing, and he just said it with such a grimace, and he just wanted to kill Apollo. It was great.
I will admit, it was a very good fight while it lasted.
Yeah.
Kudos to Apollo though, right? Because they a very well driven robot. They kept out of the way of the disc as much as they could. That little flick on the wheel, I'm guessing it was more of a little bit of luck than judgment.
Yes.
But at the same time, I think to myself, it was just so brilliant. I don't care. And obviously,
they lost the wheel as well.
Kill themselves.
Yeah, they lost the wheel as well.
Yeah, again, they lost the wheel again, but they were able to have more. They were able to still control the robot more than PP3D was. I think that's simply because PP3D was off balance, and with a spinner off balance, you have no chance. Yeah. And then of course that beautiful flip, which again KO'd PP3D because it was on the light. Yeah.
Well, the link just came straight out, didn't it? At the back, you just saw it fly out.
Oh, was it the link?
Yeah, another one.
Nice. That's a surprise.
Yeah.
See, Reddit really must be upset today.
Yeah, Reddit are crying right now.
Two removable link, mate. Oh god.
It's not going to get any better than
guys, how dare you have safety precautions, innit? Freaking
idiot. Ross, anything to say about this fight, really?
Well, if I'm honest, I totally forgot what happened in this fight.
I'm sorry. You were drunk by this point.
Flicking off PP3D's wheel, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean that pretty much killed the fight. I mean, obviously PP3D weren't never going to get back into the fight after that point. So
I've just tried to be silent. I've just been trying to be silent for this fight. I hope you didn't ask me anything. And then I'll call for the next
anyway, I think with that said, we'll move on to, in my opinion, a really bad judge's decision. I know Ross agrees with me. Anderson, you less so.
To be honest, I can see both sides of the argument on this one.
Eruption versus Storm 2. I completely agree with the judges. Storm 2 dominated the fight for the most part. However, I think right at the end, just before that 10-second counter started, just before, I think Storm 2 was immobilized. It didn't move. After that point, it pushed Eruption into the pit button, like at the end, and they got stuck. And then the countdown started, and it didn't move after that point. I think, if we're going by old fights such as 259 versus Wild Thing and what was the other one you mentioned?
Henry Aardvark.
Henry versus Aardvark.
Yeah. Oh god, yeah, that was a pretty pack one of that.
If we're going by like that logic back then, Storm 2 should have lost that fight.
Yeah, I actually will admit this as well. When I rewatched it, because when I first watched it, I thought he died after the 10-second count started, so it didn't really matter as much. But it was just before. So, in my personal opinion, I didn't even think it should have gone to the judges.
Yeah, that
should have been an immediate win for Eruption. Obviously, it wasn't. Unfortunately, there's always going to be mistakes in television.
Yeah, cool.
There's always, especially when it's reality.
It was damn close. Like, I'm not going to take anything away from from Storm 2 or the judges on this one. It was very close.
I mean, all in all, Storm 2 deserved a win
Yes,
simply because it
absolutely.
dominated the fight. But at the same time, looking at the
It
technicalities
was
of it,
immobilised, yeah.
it was immobilised, and the Eruption should rightly have gotten the point. So, Ed Hoppit, get it sorted. Sorry, I'm being really bad this episode. I'm
It
sorry.
was-
I'm
like,
gonna have to give you a 1 week ban.
Yeah, oh, I only have one, so this is going
like,
great,
apart
isn't
from the
it?
controversy at the end, I feel it was like one of the fights of the night, though. It was like
Yeah, it was such a close fought fight, and
yeah.
it was just really
It could have
grungy.
went out either way, like
Yeah.
throughout the whole fight.
Good driving, good tactics.
Yeah.
Both robots got a good fair amount of moves in. I mean, honestly, it was everything you really wanted. JP's frantic frantic commentary in that one. Great back and forth action, good close and proper. A little bit of controversy, just the way I like it, really. That was a good, and it was a
Absolutely.
good clean fight, between
Absolutely.
two great machines by two great teams.
Absolutely, and I think had it gone the other way, I wouldn't have complained. Like, as I said, I agree with the decision that Storm 2 would have won up to that point. However, from my point of view, I thought Storm 2 was dead, but that's by the by.
So no, get it sorted. Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry.
God's sake. I suppose we should now move on to, in my opinion, the fight of the night and the fight of the series so far between Apollo and Storm 2.
Yeah, now you see, Sam, talking of bad decisions, this is one that I didn't agree
Yeah,
with. and
I agree as well. I completely agree.
I'm going to say this now, right? Don't get me wrong. All credit to Apollo. They had a broken chain and were still mobile, but their flipper got stuck open for quite a lot of that fight before it went back down.
Storm 2 was in control of that fight.
And Storm 2. Okay, yeah, you flipped Storm about 3 or 4 times, but after your chain broke, you were barely able to move in a straight line. They moved properly. Don't get me wrong. They had good control of it despite losing a chain, but by that point onwards, Storm 2 had full control of the fight. They weren't getting any weapon shots in. Storm 2 were pushing them around. Nearly got them in the pit twice.
Yeah.
I personally think that should have gone to Storm 2, but that's just me.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel that Storm 2 should have won as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Although,
very.
I can see where the judges are coming from now, because obviously aggression is ranked higher than damage, and obviously with Apollo flipping Storm 2 all the time,
Yes.
that could be seen as aggressive. Well, Storm 2 is more of a defensive robot. It was more controlled by pushing it. So I mean,
Okay,
I guess I could see where the judges are coming
yeah.
from, but
Yeah, I agree.
I still feel Storm 2 should have won.
I can see where you're coming from there, Ross, and I pretty much agree with everything you just said there. I think they should add a 4th criteria: defense or strategy.
That is a very good shout. Actually, strategy.
Or strategy, yeah, strategy, because that's a very important
strategy.
part.
I think was what style used to be.
No, Star was just looking good, hence why Razor won all the time.
I know. Anyway,
Spot a lot, so yeah.
But I do agree. I mean, I don't think the 4th criteria is necessary, but I think strategy should come under control, and I think I can understand it, but I can understand the decision going in Apollo's way, but at the same time, from my point of view, again, I thought the decision was wrong. I felt Storm 2 was in control of the fight, but that's just me. But of course, we can't go any further without discussing Apollo taking on the House Robots.
That was brilliant. It was
Yeah,
brilliant.
you see, that's another thing. I thought maybe that was why they won.
But they said no extra points.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I remembered also that Star doesn't count in this series. But I will say this now. Dead Metal and Matilda getting flipped over was hilarious. Matilda lost an entire arse cheek.
Yeah,
I saw
Apollo
that,
ripped
yeah.
off Matilda's arse cheek.
JP didn't even mention it as well.
I know. And what's really more, and of course, the House Robots still haven't got a streamer. So House Robot builders, sort it. Sorry.
So, yeah.
Look, I think in terms of yeah, I think the fact that only one robot in history has ever flipped Dead Metal before, and that was Gravity, which
is very similar to Apollo. You have to admit.
It is. It's quite a similar, wedge, kind of pointy wedge design. But in terms of flipping Dead Metal, it's not an easy robot to flip, as they said.
Especially with this weight increase.
Exactly, and as well as that, it was cold in the arena. They had problems with the CO2 supply. The fact that they were able to turn a 300-kilo robot on effectively half power was amazing.
Definitely, and obviously Matilda getting launched over was always good fun as well. It was. I mean, what I thought was great was Matilda was there trying to self-right Dead Metal, and then was like, nah, and just flipped over as well.
Messed up. Yeah, I think it's amazing to think this. I think other than Tricerabot, this is the first time since Matilda got her flywheel that it's been flipped over in UK Robot Wars.
Yes.
which is crazy to think. But this is another great fight. I mean, I'm a bit surprised that it went to Apollo, but at the same time, I can see why they gave it.
Yeah. What I liked about it was obviously, as you said, again, very close. I could see where the judges were coming from when they said Apollo 1. I personally thought it shouldn't have, but that's just me, back and forth.
I think that
Entertainment,
I
how
think for
short it's being
me,
flipped over.
this
close,
fight,
brilliant.
this fight for me was kind of like karma for Storm 2 not winning the last one. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So it kind of balanced itself out. Had Storm 2 should have won this one, but should have lost the one before. Of course, and all this Eruption, God bless them, get nothing, and they end up fighting PP3D, and they get a bit of a tanking early on, and that was really
Yeah,
it.
this PP3D impressed me this match.
Yeah.
Because one seen too much of them, and the disc was really working.
Yeah,
really
they
working
cranked up
fight.
the disc in this fight, and
Yeah,
they hit Eruption
they made
hard.
business this match, yeah.
And then it died.
And then they both
And
died
the
at the same
Eruption
time.
stood up pretty well to them for quite a while, to be fair.
Yeah.
And then it was a Fox, and then it was a Foxic Mr. Speed Square for the second half.
Yeah,
of that.
let's put it this way. This was probably the weakest match of the episode. Well, no, there's no problem. It was easily the weakest match of the episode. It started off good, and then both robots died.
They should have called the fight there.
They should have called the fight there, so they just let them spin around for a bit.
I mean, I think they were probably waiting to see if one of them just came back to life, which I can understand. If they die at the same time, I can understand that, but they should have just called the fight.
Although this is one of those very rare occasions where literally they did die at exactly. I mean, for example, like Smidsy versus Chaos. So I personally don't think that should have gone to a rematch. Yeah, as far as I was concerned, Smidsy was on the side way before Chaos flipped himself over. But when you look at
take Cedric was it Cedric Slammer and Mute?
Cedric Slammer and Mute.
That was they both literally died at the same time.
Yeah.
And this was again the exact same thing. Literally, like this split second, one died, but the one died as well. So that was pretty cool. But again, just plodding around, not really able to get to each other. I'm surprised JP once again he seemed a little bit off this episode because he wasn't picking up on a lot of stuff. Like he was just saying, "Oh, come on, fight each other." It's like you can quite clearly tell they're not fully mobile. JP.
Yeah, they were both just working on one wheel, weren't they? So
yeah, true. Yeah. But it's just one of those things, I guess. But again, if this is the weakest fight of the episode, it's it's a good episode.
Yeah. I mean, it was still entertaining while it lasted.
Yeah.
PP3D again disappointed me a little bit because it did some damage to that little anti-spinner buffer thing, but again, it killed itself.
Yeah.
And also, the disc just didn't do as much damage as I hoped.
Yeah, true, but it did enough for me to think.
Yeah, the right robot won.
Yes.
We can all agree on that.
I agree with that. Yeah,
definitely. Well, they were the one who hit the killing blow technically, so they did win. They deserved to win.
So moving on, we see Eruption, who are now out at this point, amazingly taking on Apollo, who are already through, and what a performance by Eruption! It's such a shame for the Oats boys to go out like this. I mean, they were so good. They were the only robot in this heat to not get beaten, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Because they only lost by the judges.
Yeah.
And
I was so disappointed because this is the fight that I'd been looking forward to for the whole night.
And then Apollo died.
Now that it was pretty much like a dud. It didn't matter at all. I mean, obviously Apollo's already through, Eruption's already out.
And then Apollo
So
died.
it was like, yeah, I would have liked to see it mean something, but I mean, we still got to see it. So, and it was a good fight as well. So I mean, I guess we can't.
Hey guys, it was a flipping good fight.
Shout out to Mastrath.
Sorry, Master at Hand.
Oh, Master at Hand, yeah, of course.
Master at Hand, yeah, get it.
I didn't even say that. Anyway,
yeah, sorry. In my opinion, it was a short but sweet match.
Yeah.
Both got a couple of flips in. Apollo died, nearly went out the arena. There you go. It was still an entertaining match for the length it went. I had no problems with this match at all.
Absolutely. And with that said, we move on to the biggest match of the century.
Turtle versus Sweeney Todd. No, wait, hang on.
Yeah, we move on to... I hope this is the end of every single discussion ever about Typhoon 2 and Storm 2. We got the rematch between PP3D and Storm 2, and it was a great fight. We got to see...
But now everyone's going to moan because the dollar won.
Look, listen, okay. I think PP3D showed its credentials. It peeled back part of the armor plating of Storm 2, which is amazing considering how strong that thing is built. And I think had the wheel not died, probably would have won the fight, PP3D. Dare I say it? I know. But the wheel...
I probably agree, yeah, I think PP3D would have won. Should have
No,
sworn that died.
I completely disagree because if you saw, my point was once again made that a wedge is a spinner
Killing
killer
itself.
No, very true.
because of course, as we all saw, it hit the wedge and just flew up in the air and did no damage.
It
And I thought-
peeled off the side
Peeled
panel.
off the side armor,
Yeah.
and that obviously means that it got a hit on the side of Storm 2, and if
Yeah.
it managed to get one,
They can
I'm
get-
willing to bet it would be able to get another. And that thing looked like it was going to come off any second, so I feel like
Yeah.
if PP3D had got another hit in, the armor would have came off, and then God knows what would happen after that.
It was a good fight, and again, the fact that the wheel died on the pit was very unlucky for PP3D. But again, the wheel did die, and I think that was the third time in 3 fights that the wheel broke. So the reliability, as we said at the start of the episode of the review, wasn't quite there. And Storm 2 got their vengeance after all these years. They finally beat Gary Cairns' robot, this time being PP3D, of course. In terms of the two going out, PP3D, it's a great robot base, and I think from here, the only way is up, because the robot is a great design, and reliability will only make it even better.
We need a rematch, though. We need the decision maker.
We need to decide.
So, if I'm right in thinking, right, Gary Cairns, I don't know if he still has it, but he had a robot called Hornet, I think, or something like that, and it was like it was a 4-wheel drive robot with like a set of like really nifty, almost like a sewer snake style lifting forks on the front. If he still has that, fight the two of them. There you go, guys. Sort it. Sorry. in all honesty, though, yeah, that would be a good fight. It would be nice to see, a decision maker. Or they could just do what 101 in King B3 did and team up and win it.
Hey, do a tag team. That'd be pretty interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
How about
an
that?
eruption of Apollo.
Well, speaking of eruption,
Sweetie than the wooden boat.
Speaking of eruption, a huge amount of respect has to go to the Oates boys for putting on a great show, and I think for me, so unlucky to get Drew in the heat of death, as they said.
They were so unlucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they come back next year.
I'm sure they will.
I hope they come back next year. With a better draw, they can easily get through to the semis or the grand final, whatever they do next year.
Yeah.
This heat reminded me a lot of Heat E in Series 3 and Heat F in Series 6, in which there was a lot of powerhouse robots, which unfortunately meant a lot of great robots missed out.
Yeah, where there's a lot of robots that could have gone on to potentially win the series.
Well, when you think about it, right, PP3D, Storm 2, Apollo, and Eruption, all 4 on their own merit deserve worthy of a grand final place.
Maybe even Canova as well.
I already mentioned this to Sam earlier, but I don't think he agreed with me, but I said to him that all 4 of the robots in the head-to-head, I think, would have given TR2 a lot of trouble. I'm not going to say they beat TR2, but in the last heat...
They probably give it more trouble than, say, the others did, purely because of the way that they operated within the arena.
I feel like any of the 4 robots maybe would have, maybe not PV3D, but maybe would have even won the heat last week.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think they definitely would have given it a good run for its money, and it is a shame. Hopefully, of course, next year they'll have. There's talks about maybe having more heats or something. If they do, that'd be great, because it means that there's more of a chance for these great machines to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Eruption and PP3D were worthy competitors, and I hope to see them both back next year. Bigger and better than they were this year. Which leaves us with the heat final of Apollo, which has been mostly broken throughout the evening, but still hobbling its way through to the heat final, and Storm 2, which has quietly gone about its business. It's just done good work.
I tell you what, this is probably the best heat final of the series. This heat is frustrating, because it's almost as if I don't think it can get any better, which is annoying.
From now on, yeah. It's all downhill from here, folks.
Yeah, I hope it still stays good, but it was just such a bloody good heat. I mean, there wasn't really a bad match.
I think I said to Anderson when just after this it just finished, and I said this is probably one of the best heats ever in terms of Robot Wars, and I think everyone can agree this is a solid heat. I can't think of many on the top of my head where I thought, damn, this is good. Yeah,
it's up there with some of the best episodes ever. I mean, in my opinion, some of the best episodes are Semi-Final 1 from Series 4, the first ever Tag Team Terror Championship, I
hate the Series 4 one, you mean, the Tag Team Terror?
Yeah. Yeah. Another good episode was Extreme One, the episode with all the All-Star qualifiers in it, and one with
Yeah.
Tornado versus B versus Steel Avenger in the Mayhem.
Yeah, that was
Absolutely
great.
amazing episode. Heat E of Series 3 was a great episode. I mean, and this definitely ranks up there with some of the best of the best.
Absolutely, and I think in terms of from here, Apollo versus Storm 2 was again another closely fought fight against Storm 2, probably on top for most of the fight we saw. Apollo, did have a lot of good hits on Storm 2 as well, but I think the fact that Apollo in the middle of the fight just casually just chucking Shunt out the way like it wasn't even there, I thought that was pretty great. Once again.
3 house robot flips in one episode.
So to kill a lot, you're next. Watch out.
Yeah, oh god, please. Please.
Lads, Apollo, if you're watching this out there in YouTube land, please.
And if you are able to go back in the past,
please.
Back to when it was filmed, please flip skip over. Get out of the arena, mate. That'd be amazing. That'd be posh. Get out of the arena, just do it.
Anyway, this fight was amazing for a couple of reasons. Obviously, Shunt going over was great. Storm 2 driving on, but Apollo was fixed by this point, fully working, and a fully working Apollo was just too much for Storm 2, and Storm 2 went out of the arena. I mean, who would have thought that would have happened?
I didn't think that was going to happen.
I didn't see it coming, no.
I remember my chin hit the floor when it happened.
Yeah, I saw it propped against the arena wall, and I thought, no way, and it just went out.
I thought this was going to be Storm's battle because of what happened earlier, but obviously, as you said, Apollo was actually working properly in this fight, and it was a great fight again. It was nice to see it with both robots working at full capacity. I do think the other match was a little bit better, but the heat final. But this was still, an amazing heat final, worthy of any sort of high rating. I mean, if we were to rate these matches on their own merit out of 5, I'd give this a 4 out of 5 easily. This match, if not a 4.5 out of 5.
Yeah, exactly.
It was a bloody good battle.
Absolutely, and I think that ultimately brings us very nicely to the end of the heat.
Oh, hang on, what did Ross think? We haven't really heard Ross.
Yeah, go on.
This is forgot
again. No, this was the best heat final so far.
Of the series, I'd say so.
Yeah. I don't know if much else to say. You guys have already said what I thought on this fight.
Oh, sorry, bud. We stole your thunder there, didn't we?
It's all right, man.
Oh, I feel really bad now. In terms of
Gary Cairns in it.
Go on, hit us with it. Go on.
Hit you with what?
Hit with some Scottish.
Just some stereotypes. Go on.
No, okay. So how would you out of 10? How would you rate this heat? Ross, you go first.
9.5.
Wow.
Because I don't want to give it a 10 because I don't know.
You can never give anything a 10, can you?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It was just one of the best Robot Wars episodes ever. So yeah, I guess 9.5.
Anderson?
Right. The only real letdown, in my personal opinion, this episode was obviously PP3D versus Eruption's kind of cank ending, which is a bit upsetting. Producers sort it, but when it comes down to it, I personally, to be honest, that's just a nitpick. I was going to say 9 out of 10, but then I remembered I rated Heat for 2 a 9 out of 10. Now now looking back on it, I think that was a little high. I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10 instead of a 9 out of 10. And to be honest, I think this heat is just too good to be given such a minute rating as 9 out of 10. I'm gonna go 9.5, the same as Ross.
Wow.
If it wasn't for that little nitpick, it would have been a 10 out of 10. If let's say that match had just ended there, or let's say they had done a little bit more before that happened, I think I would have been happy to give it the full beans. But I can't with a straight face. I can't do it.
That's fair enough. I'm gonna go just below both of you. I'm gonna go for 9. For the same reasons that obviously there was a bit of a lull between Eruption and PP3D. And I don't know, something I can't give it the full 10. 9.5 I think as well, because had that fight been better, I don't think you can ever give a full 10. And I think if PP3D and Eruption tore more chunks out of each other, and that'd have been that'd have boosted up a little bit higher.
That was definitely the letdown of the heat.
But
technology on
it was, let's face it, it was a wonderful heat. I,
it
I, like, I was,
wicked, yeah.
I was hooked. The whole hour was just like, it just flew by. It was unbelievable for me.
We can give a 10 out of 10 next week, 'cause obviously Pulsar is going to win. Because, it's my
Well,
favourite to win.
you
So it's
know,
probably going to lose in the first round.
well,
Great.
Anderson brings us nicely onto week 5's mini preview for this week. We've got Beast, Chompalot, Crazy Coop 88, Gabriel, Infernal Contraption, Ironside 3, Pulsar, and Thermidor 2.
He said the exact same reaction I had when I knew that was back.
So, first things first, I have to say, poor Chompalot, because their draw
know.
is horrendous.
It's horrible, isn't
It
it? I
is.
feel so bad. I
Chompalot,
love
for those that
Chompalot.
don't know, it is out on the wiki, so we're not, we've got it off there rather than me spoiling it for anything. Chompalot is in with Ironside 3, Pulsar, and Thermidor 2. Oh my
Series
goodness
6
me!
F all over again.
In Series 6, they had Thermidor 2 again, which is quite cool, but we'll get back to that later. Thermidor 2, 13 Black, and Stinger. It was a horrible, horrible draw. Their draw was worse this time. The 2 series that Chompalot's been in, and their draw is absolutely horrific.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Cook family. No, sorry, okay, I won't say it because it's not your fault this time. But no, I honestly do feel bad for them. I can't see them lasting too long with a ground crunch as high as it is, and the fact that anything with sides that big is just weak to spinners anyway. But it's great to see them back again.
I love
with an
I
even better
love
looking crusher.
Chompalot so much. I know it's been said many times that we don't particularly like Razor, but I think it's weird. We all love Chompalot.
I think
It's a nice looking robot. It's very unique as well. I think that might be like, and it's not
It's-
boring to watch.
It's because it was one of the few to initiate a crushing jaw.
Yeah.
rather
The
than
thing
a
is, okay,
small one. That makes sense.
Chompalot gets a lot of love, and didn't really see it much in the old series. It
Yeah,
gets a lot of a lot of
maybe
people
that's
praise
why.
Chompalot.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, for example, the reason why I don't like Rays is because I found it boring and repetitive. Meanwhile, and that's because, I mean, remember, it fought in 40 plus fights.
No, it
Meanwhile,
won 40 plus fights. That's not including the ones it lost.
yeah, no, it won 40 fights and has lost 6 now. It was in 46 fights total.
All right.
But basically, I personally think that because I saw it so much, that's why I got bored of it and ended up disliking it as much as I do. Meanwhile, because obviously we didn't see much of Chompalot, when we did see it and it worked well, it was that's pretty cool actually.
It was
But obviously,
quick and aggressive, and but
having Razor Force in your face for like 4 years, was a nightmare. No, 5 years. Sorry, he's just 6. Yeah, 5 years. It's just
yeah, exactly. In terms of who we think is going to win this heat, I think Anderson's made his feelings clear with Pulsar winning the heat.
Yes.
From my point of view, I can't wait to see Gabriel. I genuinely can't wait to see how
Gabriel looks epic, doesn't
it's
it?
it's enormous.
It's massive, yeah.
And I love the fact that they've got the biggest robot in Robot Wars and the smallest robot in Robot Wars in the first round together. That's great. But in terms of a winner for the heat, because of the fact that Gabriel's got massive wheels, he's just going to get absolutely clobbered by someone.
If Ironside doesn't get it, Pulsar will. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be between Ironside 3 and Pulsar. I'm going to just to be different. I'm going to say Ironside 3 is going to win this heat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ironside 3 looked really. How heavy is the weapon? Like 35 kilos?
35 kilo
Something like that.
spinning bar.
That is somewhat.
1,500 RPM top speed, which, I mean, to be honest, it might not be the fastest, but at that weight, you don't need speed behind it.
It's going to do some damage. I just think, because I don't know, I think Pulsar's going to win the heat. Ironside and Pulsar in the heat final, but I think Pulsar will come out on top.
See, Sam, we're taking over this show.
Oh, God, don't. Well, you have to make your own channel first. Anyway.
Ooh, I have my own channel with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the YouTube channel and the podcast. That's the whole thing.
Anyway, folks, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this very short podcast.
This is our shortest one. It's only been an hour and 9 minutes.
Exactly. This is amazing. Well, it's going to be even shorter than that once I've trimmed out the few things that I've missed out. Yes, folks, I've edited this one. I've trimmed things out. See if you can spot where they are.
You traitor.
Anyway, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and we'll see. Well, me and Anderson will see you next week. Ross, thank you for coming. And but seeing as though,
No problem.
you won't be back for the rest of the series, obviously, Ross. Who's going to get the wild card? Who's going to win the series?
I think Thor's going to get the wild card, and Carbide's going to win the series.
Thank you very much for that, Ross. We will see if your predictions come true. Thank you all very much for watching.
Oh, and we also hope to see you in our classic series reviews, maybe.
Absolutely. Well, yes, that's a bit of a teaser for those out there. Anyway, take care. Goodbye.
Bye.